Does it feel like everyone is suddenly getting rich except you? And you walk into an airport and see luxury lounges packed with people, and you check concert prices, and front row seats cost more than your rent. You scroll online and it's nonstop luxury homes, vacations, and private jets. And the craziest part is, it all feels normal now. So, what exactly is going on here? It feels like the ultra rich are everywhere these days. And I'm not talking about the guys whose names are on the side of space rockets like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos. I'm talking about the person who is quietly worth 10 million, 50 million, or maybe even $100 million. They're living in plain sight and they're doing just fine while the rest of the world feels like it's spinning out of control. While that group keeps watching their investments grow, there are millions of other Americans who are staring at the grocery receipts, wondering when beef became a luxury item. And the thing is, people are struggling to keep up with rent, childcare, and gas prices that seem to change every 5 minutes to the point where they feel like they need to check before and after they blink. And this split is what we call the K-shaped economy. And imagine a world where one side of the country is riding an escalator up while the other side is stuck on a treadmill moving backwards. So in this video, let me pull back the curtain on why this is happening and what it actually means for your future. And I know it can feel pretty hopeless when you see those numbers, but I still believe building wealth is possible for anyone who is willing to get serious about it. And believe me, I was in your shoes back in 2014 when my financial life was a total wreck. But anyway, to understand how to get ahead, we first have to understand the shape of the game we were playing. Think of the letter K. The upper line moves up towards the ceiling while the lower line dives down towards the floor. And this is a perfect picture of the American economy right now. The top part of that K represents the people who own things, and they own businesses, stocks, real estate, and other investments that work for them while they sleep. They have spent the last few years benefiting from home values that went through the roof and stock prices that just kept climbing. When you own assets that appreciate, the economy feels like a tailwind pushing you forward. On the other hand, the bottom part of that K represents the folks who depend mostly on a paycheck to survive. And they're the ones feeling the sting of higher rents and expensive groceries. They're dealing with higher insurance costs and debt repayments that keep getting larger while their wages seem to grow at a smaller pace. And if you look at the news, they will tell you the economy is doing great because the numbers on paper look strong. The unemployment rate is still relatively low and the stock market is hovering near record highs, even with the volatility we have seen lately. And luxury spending is absolutely booming, which makes it look like everyone is doing well. But for millions of people, life feels harder than it ever has. That's why you can talk to two different people and get two completely different stories. One person says the economy is amazing because their portfolio is up over 20-25% in the last 2 years and their house doubled in value over the last 6 to 7 years. And another person says they cannot even afford the basic necessities anymore. And the truth is, both of those people are correct and they're right. It just depends on which part of the K they're standing on. Now, there was a recent article on Wall Street Journal that really highlighted the shift. It pointed out that there are now way more Americans worth tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of dollars than there were just 10 years ago. We're seeing a boom in the number of people worth 8 or even 9 figures. And these are not all celebrities or famous billionaires. A lot of them are just regular business owners, executives, and investors. Some might be real estate developers, doctors, lawyers, or tech workers who happen to own assets during one of the biggest booms in history. Now, if you go back about 15 years, stocks have had a strong run overall. Real estate took off, especially during and after COVID. Business valuations went up. And even if someone just stayed invested in basic index funds or bought a home many years ago, they likely saw their net worth climb in a big way. But the average worker did not see that same kind of growth. Wages did go up, but not at the same pace as assets, not even close. So the people who already owned things saw their wealth grow faster. And while people who didn't were kind of stuck trying to keep up with rising costs. And now you see the results of that shift. Luxury apartment buildings, luxury gyms, premium travel experiences, expensive restaurants, all of it is expanding. Not because everyone is rich, but because there are a lot more wealthy people than there used to be. And the economy is being driven more and more by the top 10% and especially the top 1%. Just take a look at the Super Bowl they hosted in Vegas back in 2024. For those of you who didn't know, I've been living in Nevada for the last 15 years. The bare minimum price for each seat was about $8,000 in the nosebleeds, and it was the most expensive Super Bowl at the time. And you would think nobody's going to go to the Super Bowl and pay $8,000 in the nosebleeds or in the 400 sections, right? But it turned out to be a completely sold out event with a crowd of over 61,000 people. And more people can't afford to attend this type of event, and venues have no problem raising their prices, while the average people would need to cash out their 401k to make this happen. And the thing about wealth is that it creates more wealth. If you have a $1 million portfolio and it grows by 10%, you just made $100,000 without lifting a finger. And if you have $10 million and it grows by 10%, you just made $1 million. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck, you do not have any extra money to put into the market in the first place, you're just trying to keep the lights on. This is why the gap keeps getting wider, and people with assets see their money compound over time, while people without them keep falling behind. And it goes beyond stocks, right? People with money have access to things most people never even hear about. Private investments, business deals, and real estate opportunities. It's a different world. Now, here's a piece of the story that most people do not talk about. Wealth is not equal across generations, and neither is debt. Baby boomers, those born between 1946 and 1964, are sitting on top of the mountain. Right now, boomers own 51.4% of all wealth in the United States, according to Federal Reserve data as of early 2025. And that is $83.3 trillion out of a total $163.1 trillion held by American households. And the average boomer in America has a net worth of about $1.68 million. And they bought homes when they were cheap, and they bought stocks when the market was low. They did it all while interest rates eventually came down for decades, making their assets appreciate beautifully, except for the 1970s. That generation, to be honest, had a window that simply does not exist at the moment, and they made the most of it. And meanwhile, Gen X, those born between 1965 and 1980, sits in a complicated spot. The average net worth for Gen X is around $1.1 million and growing. Not bad on paper, but they also carry the most non-mortgage debt of any generation. The median non-mortgage debt for a Gen Xer is about $26,207, and that includes a median auto loan balance of $23,350 and a median student loan balance of $33,988 for those who still carry it. But we have to be fair here, because this did not just happen because of bad luck or poor choices. You have to remember that Gen X got hit by the 2008 financial crisis right in the middle of their peak earning years, which wiped out a lot of wealth they had just started to build. And they recovered, but it cost them time. And as for millennials, those who were born between 1981 and 1996, they were in a very different fight. The average net worth for a millennial right now sits at around $333,000. That sounds decent until you realize millennials carry an average total debt load of $132,280, according to Experian. And credit cards, auto loans, student loans, and personal loans are all stacking up. Millennials also have the highest average mortgage balance of any generation at $320,000. Meaning those who did manage to buy a home did so at peak prices with high interest rates. And on top of that, student loans are still crushing them, and $1.83 trillion in outstanding student loan debt nationally, with many borrowers in their 30s and 40s still paying off a degree they earned over 15 years ago. Together with Gen Z, they own only 10.5% of total US wealth, despite being the largest generation by population. And then you have consumer credit card debt, which hit a record $1.23 trillion in 2025, and the average credit card APR is sitting at 22.3%. And that's not a credit card. That is a trap with a logo on it. And as for the total consumer debt in the United States, it reached $18.8 trillion at the end of 2025. And that works out to about $105,000 per household. And the truth is, people are not using debt to build wealth. They're using debt to survive. And that is the bottom line of the lower half of the K. Now, with all that said, I want to shift gears just a bit because I don't want to leave you feeling stuck. Even with this gap, even with everything we just talked about, I still believe building wealth is possible for anyone, but it starts with taking responsibility. And back in 2014, I was on active duty in the military, and I had over $110,000 in total consumer debt. Credit cards, divorce, bad decisions, and things I bought that I did not need. And I blamed everything else, everyone else, the system, the situation, and other people. And I had every excuse lined up. But eventually, I had to face it. Nobody was coming to fix it for me. Not the government, not my job, not anyone. And on December 21st, 2015, I paid off every dollar of that debt, every single one. And that moment changed everything for me. That was when I moved from the bottom part of that K to the top part. Not because I became rich overnight, but because I stopped going backwards. Now, I'm not going to pretend it was easy. During that journey to get out of debt, I had to sacrifice almost everything, and I gave up a lot of fun. And I said no to things my friends were doing, and I was focused on paying off that debt because I knew I had to stop digging the hole deeper. But once I got the weight off my shoulders, I did not spend the rest of my life being miserable. I shifted my focus to building wealth, and I learned that you do not have to choose between saving every penny and enjoying your life. So I started balancing three things: saving, investing, and spending my money intentionally. I wanted to enjoy my life while I was still young enough to appreciate it. And that balance is what made the whole process sustainable for me. And looking back, I'm really glad that I made the sacrifice of having any fun to pay off my consumer debt. The question for you is, are you willing to make the same temporary sacrifice so that you can get ahead? Now, I'm going to say something that some of you might not want to hear. If you're sitting around blaming the government for your financial situation, you're wasting your most valuable resource, your time. I say this with respect, not judgment, because I've been there too. Every election cycle, people wait for some politicians to fix their finances, tax cuts, tax credits, new proposals. And look, those things can help at the margins, but your financial future is not going to be built in Washington, D.C. It's going to be built in your own home with your own decisions, your own spending habits, your own savings rate, and your own investments. Yes, the system is not perfectly fair. And yes, some people start with more advantages, and that is real. But giving away your power to the government and waiting for them to rescue you, that is not a financial strategy. The sooner you take ownership of your situation, the sooner things can actually change. So if you feel like you're on the wrong side of the K right now, here's what you should focus on. First, attack your high interest debt. You cannot build wealth while paying 22% interest on a credit card. And I know that's easier said than done, but you need a real plan with a real timeline. Not a 10-year plan, not a 20-year plan, but a 2 or 3 year plan to knock that debt out completely. Treat it like your most important financial mission. Second, build a cash buffer. Even just 1 month of expenses set aside gives you room to breathe and stops you from going right back into debt and something unexpected happens always. Third, start investing, even if you can only start small. And I started investing $50 a month back in 2012. That's right. But the point is not the amount. The point is the habit. The people who build lasting wealth are not always the highest earners in the room. They're the people who consistently invest over long periods of time and let compounding do the heavy lifting. And fourth, be very careful about lifestyle inflation. Every time your income goes up, do not spend all of it and take a portion of every raise and buy an asset with it. Stocks, an index fund, or a rental property down the line. Something that works for you while you sleep. And fifth, be patient. The rich did not build $1 million, $30 million, or $100 million overnight. Most of them spent decades owning assets and letting those assets grow. That same principle is available to you starting today. You do not need to become ultra rich. You just need to make consistent, intentional progress. So when you step back and look at the bigger picture, here's the reality. The K-shaped economy is real. The wealth gap is getting wider. And yes, the ultra rich are more visible now than ever before. You're not imagining that. But none of that means you cannot build wealth. I went from $110,000 in consumer debt in 2014 to being completely debt-free by December 21st, 2015. And if I stay stuck blaming everything else around me, I would probably still be in that position and not making any of these videos. Instead, I took responsibility. I got out of debt. I started investing and I built from there step by step. You don't need to become ultra rich. That's not the goal for most people, right? The goal is progress, real steady progress. Because the moment you stop waiting for someone to fix your situation is the moment your financial life actually starts to change. And this has been another piece of a video and I hope you got a lot out of it.